So today, we're going to talk about the medications available in the market to treat Alzheimer's disease. The one main group of medications that have been in the market for over 20 years, they're called cholinesterase inhibitors. So in the brain of Alzheimer's patients, there is a decrease in a certain chemical, a neurotransmitter named acetylcholine, and those medications, they increase the amount of this acetylcholine in the brain. So these medications, these cholinesterase inhibitors, they treat the symptoms of the disease. They don't treat the disease per se. What that means is that while the patient is taking it, there is a period of improvement in the symptoms, but then over time, the effect of the medication goes away, and the person goes back to where he or she would be if they hadn't taken the medication. People will ask if it's worth taking. The answer is it's worth trying, because even that blip could be a year and a half of a loved family member that is still understanding, a little more connected, recognizing better. In the middle stage of Alzheimer's disease, there is an opportunity to be medicated with a different kind of medication named memantine, and it works through a different mechanism, and it seems that combined with those cholinesterase inhibitors may maintain the person a little longer without declining. But again, the same thing as I said before, it would treat the symptoms. It wouldn't treat the disease itself. It wouldn't change the course of the disease. Most recently, let's say in the last 2 years, a series of of a completely different set of medications have been developed and tested in clinical trials. Those three types of medications end with the letters MAB, which stands for monoclonal antibodies. Those medications address a certain pathology that aggregates in the brain of an Alzheimer's patient named amyloid. It's a certain protein that aggregates into plaques and sits in between neurons, in between the cells, and eventually those cells die. And these medications, this series of medications, they address or break down this amyloid. So aducanumab is the first one that was approved by the FDA. It was quite controversial, primarily because of a trade-off between the gains that the patient has and the amount of adverse events. The second medication that has been approved by the FDA is lecanemab or Leqembi. The second medication that has been approved by the FDA, also a monoclonal antibody for amyloid, is called lecanemab or Leqembi, and it has begun being given to patients. It's an infusion medication. Still there is a more clear set of data in terms of a slower rate of decline over time in those who receive the medication, but still with a great deal of adverse events. Now there is a third medication being discussed by the FDA called donanemab, also a similar principle with even a greater set of successful outcomes, or in other words, of a slower decline in function and a slower decline in cognition. And we're waiting to hear what the FDA is going to say about them in the coming month.